Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Yeah, we're talking with Jason just before the broadcast about the correct pronunciation of some words. And one of those words is O-R-A-N-G-E. And I say orange. He says orange. And the other one is R-O-O-F. Some people say roof, and some people say roof. We're just talking about that for a couple seconds. Dr. Norm Shealy's with us.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Shealy. Are you blissed?
Of course.
I got your email, and there's something I think you wanted to share with the class. Actually, a couple of things, right?
Well, oh yeah, we have. You sent me a big, long agenda last night. But I haven't talked about this publicly until now. But actually, 10 weeks ago, and a day now, I developed the worst case of shingles I have ever seen in my life. It went from my knees to my shoulders. I had shingles when I was 18 in college. I saw the chief of dermatology at Duke. It was about 8 inches long on my right side. No big deal. Went away in 2 weeks. But this one was horrendous. Itching and pain. The pain ranged from 5 to 8 or more, and the itching was worse. And I just got exhausted. I had no energy. By Sunday a week ago, I thought I had about 10% life left. So I put on the Shealy Soren Chakra Sweep, we originally called it. Now we call it the Gamma PEMF device. I put it on for 6 to 8 hours on Sunday. By the end of Sunday, I felt 95% better. And by Monday, 100% better, and I've been better ever since. What this does, of course, is put the brain into gamma. And gamma is our at peace, in the zone state of mind. Now, a lot of people don't have much gamma. Most of us, if we meditate at all, if we relax adequately, we have gamma. But this puts you into great gamma. And I have seen this work so well. I think my favorite case is a 60-year-old man with the most advanced Parkinson's I've ever seen. He was so bad when he came in, it took 2 people to get him on the table for me to examine him. He couldn't put his feet on the floor, even with 2 people holding him. Using the Gamma PEMF at home an hour or 2 a day, he walked into the clinic a month later. I had a young woman, well, 60, I consider that young now. 60-year-old woman with early Alzheimer's. She couldn't tell you the time of day. A month later, she could tell you the days and the weeks and all that kind of stuff. So I do believe, as I have since I was in medical school, that there is an alternative to psychiatry. When I was in medical school, on the final exam, they asked a question list, 5 characteristics of a good psychiatrist. I wrote crazy as hell 5 times. I was called in. The Politburo threatened to float me. And I didn't use the word blank, but I will here. I said, would you like me in this blank course next year? They didn't dare float me. I haven't changed my mind in all these years. I consider 99% of psychiatrists crazier than any patient I've ever seen. I consider all the drugs that psychiatrists use, all mood drugs, antidepressants, antipsychotics, anti-anxiety, the worst drugs on the face of the earth. I'd almost rather have chemotherapy for cancer than have a psychiatric drug. Oh, well, can't all be perfect like us, but they could try. So that's a brief summary.
Well, that is wonderful news, Dr. Shealy, and I was aware of your condition, but I did not want to share that because I knew that you didn't want to share that. And,
well, I don't like ordinarily talk about my health, but you know, I think this is so important.
So let's talk about the actual device. Can you explain this device that puts
30
you into a
years
state
or
of
more
gamma?
ago, I had a sudden download. I get this kind of stuff all the time. I just suddenly thought, well, the chakras must relate to Earth frequency. So I said, first chakra must be therefore 7.83 because that's the frequency of the Earth. Maybe as you come up, we stand up, you add another 7.83. So this idea that was what it is. Well, thanks to you at one of your expos, you introduced me, or he came and introduced himself because of you, to Luke Cassidy, a wonderful engineer. And he actually took my idea about the sweep of the chakras, 5.83 up to 7 times 7.83 plus 2, and developed a device we call, originally the chakra sweep. But then a couple of years ago, I tried it on the brain, just having it about an inch away from the head, the top of the head, and it puts the brain into gamma. Gamma is known as in the zone. Woo-hoo! Not excessive, nothing, just at total peace with the universe. And now that's what we call it. But we have been using it now for over 2 years. I have 10 narcotic addicts. They now call it opioids, by the way. Not supposed to use the word narcotic anymore. And they are now approaching almost 3 years of being totally off, free after years of being addicted. So we can cure narcotic addiction. But interestingly, I've tried to get that to some of the narcotic addiction centers. They don't like it because they get to have 5 goes at every patient. Their success rate is 17%, mine is 100. And so for anxiety, for depression, and for local pain, I actually started working with this primarily for diabetic neuropathy, pain in the feet, numbness in the feet. But now we use it on almost everything. And its only contraindication is the pacemaker. Well, not you, but it might interfere with a pacemaker.
So, class, here's my observation. So for several weeks, Dr. Shealy had been very, very quiet. Short answers. Today, he's a run-on sentence.
I'm back to normal.
I meant that with all the love I could attach to it, Dr. Shealy. I really.
Hey.
I really did.
I understand that, and I appreciate it.
So, class, I know this isn't television, but if you can use your imagination and assign mental images to us and the intonations and those kinds of things, you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So I had a couple other questions about this, Dr. Shealy. We're talking about the Gamma device. It's available on your website. And I wanted to mention Luke Cassidy for just a second.
Yeah.
Luke Cassidy is a wonderful guy. He's been to the farm. He's been to all the expos. And Luke Cassidy is an engineer. He's a USA Prepares instructor. And we did Bert Bertonis, who I've known since the 70s, is a radio frequency engineer, a patent holder. And he's a really, really, really bright guy. And he and I went to a place called Marley Woods, which is not on the map. It's a fictitious name it's a name made up, to delineate an area in Missouri. And Marley Woods is a UFO hotspot. And Bert Bertonis and I went there and we did a broadcast about our experience because they were talking about this particular hotspot in Missouri where balls of light fly through the air, and there are lots of witnesses who have seen this. Respectable people. I mean, not crazies. I didn't meet anybody who was crazy, but so we talked about this on the air, and Luke Cassidy was quite intrigued. Sent me an email, and we may form another expedition where we go out there and look at Marley Woods as to see if we can find some evidence about what this is all about. And Dr. Shealy, if you're interested, if we form this little expedition, it'll be a small expedition. If you're interested in And joining us, it would be Bert Bertonis with survey equipment. I'm not talking about geological survey, but I'm talking about radiological survey equipment. And Lou Cassidy, and he may want to build some equipment and work with Bert to build equipment to measure what may be out there. I'll be going, and if you'd like to go, let us know. But so Lou Cassidy is really, really, really excited about this, and so we actually may do this.
Well, would you like to know one more thing that I've never shared publicly?
Sure.
I think it was the last expo. It's when I met. I don't remember exactly, but it was certainly one of the expos. I think it was that one. I had never met him. He came up and brought over a PEMF device, PEMF.
Are you really going to say this?
You don't want me to talk about it? Well, I was going to, because it has an application to a lot of people.
Well, okay. I mean, yeah. I think I know what you're going to say, but go ahead.
Well, I'm sitting there at a booth. You know, I've got to talk with people about our stuff. He brings me his tip. So I just put it on my knees, sitting down, and within a couple of minutes, I've talked to Lou, and out of the blue, I have an erection. And I said, Lou, I can't stand up. And so I took it off, and it went away. And I've never really talked about that at all publicly, because I don't need to. However, a lot of men have problems with ED, and I'm not going to do a research project on it, but it's another possibility, because it does increase circulation. Actually, other great information that we've had is people with poor oxygen saturation, like lung disease. One woman had an oxygen saturation of 75%. In a half hour, it was up to 96% just using this right on her chest. Several people with hypertension, like 200 over 100. Again, just hanging it over the neck on the upper chest, down to normal within 30 minutes. So it does normalize the whole physiology of the person.
Dr. Shealy, since you mentioned that, what about, and this is one of the things I wanted to mention with you today. Back in the 50s and the 60s, I heard my relatives, like aunts and uncles, talk about something they described as hardening of the arteries. Now, is it really hardening of the arteries? Is it calcification of the arteries? Is it
it is
hypertension?
It is deposits of cholesterol that get calcified in the artery. That's called atherosclerosis, of hardening of the arteries, yes.
Okay. Do you think that there is an application for that? Now, it seems to me that atherosclerosis is directly proportional to higher blood pressure. Is that right?
That is part of it. It's a combination of stress, cholesterol, etc., and whether or not you're taking the right amount of magnesium. So it's not just one thing, but it would be such an interesting study. If I was going to do another study on calcium score. The simplest, safest way to know how much atherosclerosis you've got in your heart is something called a calcium score. It's an X-ray of the heart, a CAT scan, and it gives you a score of calcium in your heart, arteries. I announced it on my radio show, and 24 hours later, the hospital tripled the price of the calcium score.
We'll be right back with Dr. Norm. We'll be right back with Dr. Norman Shealy, and Arjun, you're up next. We'll be right back. Dr. Norm Shealy's with us. Arjun in New Jersey, in the Garden State. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, Dr. Norm Shealy. I have two questions today. My first question is for Dr. Shealy. What is this committee of 300? And I have researched it, but I didn't find much on it. So can you please explain this committee of 300?
I'm having difficulty hearing.
He's asking. Yeah, Dr. Shealy, he's asking about the committee of 300 that you mentioned. Who are they? What are they? What do they do?
Okay, there's a book called The Committee of 300 by John Coleman, Coleman, it's been out many years. There are many other books. David Icke from England has written extensively about it. They are the residual of the East India Foundation, which in the late 1700s took control of the Bank of England. The Bank of England is now an independent nation in the center of London. It is run by what I call the evil empire, and the Queen of England is the head of that, among others, but the Rothschilds are the ones who took it over. And their goal is to decimate the population of the world by 90%. That's a brief summary.
Is this East India Company the same company that ruled like all that Asian continent, like that India and then all that like China and all those Asian countries? Is it the same East India Company?
I have to assume that they are behind what I call the fake fraud epidemic that we're going through now. I don't know any other group as powerful and evil as they are. And I consider the current fake-epidemic evil.
Okay. Thank you very much. So, Vince, I liked your episode on those on unidentified flying objects, and the thing is that I have some observation on that, and if anyone else was saying it, I won't believe it. But since you were saying it, so then I thought about it. I researched it a little bit, and following are my observations here. So we see that there are lots of lights there, in Marley Woods there are lots of lights. So why would anyone need a light? So they would need light because they want to see. If they want to see, that means they have eyes. They could be organic beings, or they could be just machines that are there. And in all Marley Woods stories, I have never seen anyone is harmed. It's very much possible, and the people that live there, they are not actually afraid of these guys. They are terrified, but they are not actually afraid, and they are not running away from that place. So what that means is that it's possible that these UFOs, they are harmless people, and they are not hurting anyone. And if they were hurting anyone, there were some stories that some animals have disappeared and things like that, but they were just animals, not humans. So if they are not hurting anyone, it's possible that they just don't want to be discovered. They just want to be left alone. And if when you were saying that they are communicating with each other, so earlier when we had fighter planes, so they used to communicate through radio. They used to say, okay, we are going to attack this other plane. They used to communicate through the radio, and then they will go and communicate. And they will go and attack this other plane, this enemy plane. Now the thing is that if you talk about F-35 planes, what they do is they have a console. In their console, they communicate just through the console, so they don't have to communicate through any of this radio or anything. They will just know, the data will come on their console that, okay, we will go and attack this enemy plane. So in this way, they might be just communicating with each other. And the last thing is that something rare that is there on those lands, all the materials, all the elements, all the chemistry that made Earth is available throughout the universe. So I mean, all these elements gold, silver, anything that you can think of, it's available abundantly throughout the universe. They can harness it from anywhere. So all this thing, I think that is that they just want to be left alone, and it's possible that that's a remote area. No, not much people want to go there. So that's why they are, if they are there, that's why they are there. These are just my observations,
Well, I don't have any doubt about UFOs existing, but it's a much broader picture. The work of Zecharia Sitchin, beginning with the 12th planet back in the late 70s, I think gives the best overview of this whole concept of UFOs, etc.
Okay.
Well, Arjun, if you'd like to stay with us, we'd love to have you.
Yes.
And actually, you know what would be nice, Arjun? If you would share with our class when we come back, who is Arjun? Tell us a little bit about your background. I think our class will be fascinated. We'll be right back with Dr. Shealy. Dr. Norm Shealy is with us. Arjun in New Jersey has called in. And Arjun, I just want to let you know that the Queen, whom Dr. Shealy mentioned as part of the Committee of 300, owns a lot. And as a matter of fact, we're going to be talking about this on Wednesday. What does the Queen own? Let me just tell you one thing she owns. All the dolphins in the United Kingdom. And the sturgeons and the whales. All of them. So we're going to be talking about the the person who is the wealthiest probably in the entire world, and most people don't realize it. And that's going to be the Queen. Arjun, who is Arjun? I think our class would love to know who you are. They've heard you call in many times.
Yes. So I am like a computer programmer, and I have done like a master's in software engineering from North Dakota State University, and before that I did like bachelor's in computer science, and I have just been working as a programmer from past let's say 15, 16 years, and yeah, that's all about me.
Okay. So what language or languages do you program in?
I program in .NET, like primarily I am focused more in .NET, like C#, ASP.NET, SQL Server, like all these front-end libraries, like HTML5, Bootstrap, these Angular, and all these new frameworks, like iPhone devices, like making like responsive applications, which can actually transform themselves on all different devices. So I mean, like on iPhones and Android and things like that, like designing like some apps, for iPhones and Android stuff. Yeah.
Do you have any other questions for Dr. Norm Shealy?
Oh, no, that's pretty much it. Thank you for taking my call.
Okay, and what you said is quite, Arjun, what you said about the UFOs, they are unidentified flying objects. In this particular case, Marley Woods in the state of Missouri, those are balls of light. And they make movements that we are not capable of making. Now, and what I mentioned to our class was if you took a flashlight with a focused beam, like a beam of light rather than a floodlight, a beam, and you aimed it out, and you said there was a ball at the end of that beam of light, and you just kind of waved that flashlight around. Those kind of movements, left, right, up, down, in, out, near, far, those kinds of movements are what are observed in Marley Woods. We don't have any aircraft. Drones can't fly like that. The movements are sudden, very fast. We're just not capable of doing it with the propulsion systems that we have. And so that's why we went out there and we observed it. And, as I mentioned, we came back with more questions than answers. This was not a this was not a publicity stunt. This was, and I didn't mention it for like 10 years that we had done this kind of thing, but we were interested in just investigating it ourselves. So, and one of my instructors, Carl Sagan, a world famous guy, now deceased, said to our class that, we would be quite arrogant if we thought that we were the biggest, the best in the universe.
Exactly.
Who do we think we are?
Yeah.
We have trouble getting along with our neighbors.
Yes.
Let alone, being the biggest and the best. So, just a couple of thoughts. Anything else, Arjun?
Yeah, exactly. And I just wanted to say that, when we talk about intelligence, we actually just know what we are actually told. So let's say Dr. Norm Shealy, he reads like so many books, and then he is able to retain that information. He has mentioned before, he's able to tell that information. He is able to combine those things. Like Vincent Finelli is able to put the circuit board of the of the car that he's working on out in the sun. That's actually intelligence. It's the combinations, it's the permutations of the things that you have learned throughout your life, and you apply that. That is intelligence. So, for example, like an apple falling on Newton and Newton discovering that this is like a gravity. So that is actually intelligence. Intelligence, so the thing is that normally what we do look and see, that's just like what we are told. We don't discover things just like that. So when we read so much, when we have so many different experiences from that, like from those reading, from that knowledge, then intelligence comes along. So I mean, this Dr. What was his scientist? He just died. I forgot his name. Yeah, I'm not retaining his name. So Stephen Hawking. You got it, Stephen Hawking. So he used to say that, the life, it's Earth is very rare. But then like every 20 light years, you can find like a new Earth. So I mean, like the universe is so big and things are so big, you can find life anywhere else. But the ultimate thing here is that it will not. It's you cannot rule out the possibility of UFOs. Earlier I thought no, what I've heard till now, UFOs cannot exist. From his movies, he discredits the UFOs. But since the universe is so big, there are so many things, in this world. We don't know. We know only 3% of the universe right now. Now there is 97% of the universe is unknown to us. So yeah, it will be very arrogant for us to just say that we are the most intelligent beings in this whole universe.
Yeah, there's a possibility of finding intelligence and intelligent life just about everywhere except one place: Washington, D.C.
Yeah, exactly.
Arjun, Arjun, thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, that was Arjun in New Jersey. I wanted class you to know who he was. He's a programmer, and he programs, these small devices that we carry around in our pockets. Or, well, some of us do. Not me, and not Dr. Shealy. We're talking about atherosclerosis previously, and the hardening of the which sort of equals hardening of the arteries, and you were talking about cholesterol, Dr. Shealy. Is there a relationship, do you think, between reducing that cholesterol with the gamma device? Is that a possibility?
Well, you've raised my need to do more research on all kinds of things today. I agree. It certainly sounds possible, because what I really think it is reducing stress. In other words, anxiety and anger and depression are stresses. And so by putting you back into what I call a detached state of mind, that will lower cholesterol as much as anything. And for most people, they need help in getting de-stressed.
When a body heals, Dr. Shealy, how important is circulation to that part or parts that aren't working right? How important is this circulation?
Well, that's one of the most important things. And because what the PEMF device does is increase circulation.
Yeah, that's why I was asking. So if someone's got a defective part, I'm just using the car analogy here, and putting this device, which is an antenna coil, which is, let's say, 8 to 10 inches in diameter. And there's a little cord, and it's very, very low power. And you can tell because it doesn't draw much electricity. So it's not a lot of, it's not like sticking your head in a microwave oven. I mean, it's nothing like that. Not even the same frequencies. And I guess the point is, if it will raise the circulation. Let's say you've got a knee that aches or just isn't feeling right. Can you put it on your knee and just turn on the TV or watch something important, something historical value, and just kind of an hour later take it off?
With our new one, when we first started, you had to plug it into the wall. But of course, the one we've got out now is portable with a rechargeable battery, so you can wear it around the house all day on any part of your body. You can wear it on your head, your neck, your chest, your abdomen, etc. Now, when you're sitting down, you can certainly put it anywhere on your leg or leg. You can put both feet through it. It does increase circulation.
Now, I was talking to Lou Cassidy on the phone years ago, and he mentioned that he sits for a long time as he is designing and assembling and doing the work, electrical engineering work on these devices, and so he actually sits on one. I mean, I'm sure he sits on a pillow, and under the pillow is one, and he said it helps him, and it makes it certainly.
Actually, a lot of people put it under their pillow. Well, I want you to hear something. You hear a buzz now? I hear a click, 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 click.
Right.
You hear that?
No, I can't. Maybe the class
Well,
can,
that's
but I cannot.
interesting because I hear it, and I hear it with or without the phone. So I don't use it when I'm talking on the phone on my head and I can't sleep with it because I hear this steady click. But not everybody does.
Okay. Well, okay. So, Dr. Shealy, your telephone, I'm on a digital connection, and I have a greater frequency response than you do because you're using a telephone. Your telephone is limited to 300 cycles per second up to 3,000. That's the frequency range or the bandwidth of a telephone connection. So that might be the reason. But I'll tell you what I did do. One day, I had it in the studio, and I powered it up, and I could hear that clicking. Exactly what you're talking about. What would happen is the pulse that it generates is picked up by the coil of my electro voice microphone. And you could hear an enhanced version of that click because it would move the diaphragm in the microphone so that it was really loud. So I can't use it in the studio when I'm on the air because it would have that pulsing sound. And so I aired it. I said, here it is. This is what it sounds like. So yes, I have heard it, but I can't do it in the studio because this electro voice microphone is so sensitive that it would pretty much overpower me. Even from a distance farther away from the microphone than I am. But yes, I have heard it. Okay, so then that leads us to lung disease, that leads us to heart disease, that leads us to leukemia, that leads us to cancers. Is that something that's on your list?
Yes, we're definitely exploring all of these things, but the research is tedious. It takes time and a lot of money sometimes to do what you want to do, but I've been doing research all my life, and I will continue.
Do you think that if you were to pursue research in the cancer field, that you would have enemies that would not appreciate your efforts?
Well, I hope. Well, yes, the pharmacomafia.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. It's exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, they never appreciate anything I do.
Yeah. Dr. Shealy and I'll be right back, class. Fascinating topic. Dr. Shealy, I've been thinking for quite some time about this, and we've talked about it over the years. And that is when someone's overweight, let's say just 20% overweight. So if a person the normal body weight would be, let's say, 150, male or female. But the person actually weighs 20% more, or 180. What would be would you be able to determine with some probability of being accurate that person has diabetes at 20% overweight? Is there a correlation there?
They may have prediabetes first. Prediabetes is extremely common and not picked up by the average physician until there's frank diabetes because they don't check for it. A fasting blood sugar is a waste of money and time. You need your average blood sugar over a 3-month period, which is the hemoglobin A1C. I pick up prediabetes very frequently here in people who haven't had it diagnosed because doctors didn't check for it.
Okay, so what is prediabetes, Dr. Shealy?
Well, hemoglobin, it means if you don't stop, and reverse it, you're going to have diabetes within 5 to 10 years. And I was taught 60 years ago that you can have prediabetes for up to 10 years before it becomes severe enough to be diabetes. But it already is causing trouble when it's prediabetes. The most common cause of trouble is loss of vibration sense in the feet. Even a 10% loss of vibration in the feet means you've got early prediabetes most of the time.
Does that mean like pins and needles or just lack of sensation?
It can be both. Sometimes there's tingling or some discomfort or loss of sensation. They might even know about it until you check it.
Mm-hmm. And so if you diagnose someone with prediabetes, what would your prescription be?
Immediately stop all wheat, all sugar, and all potatoes.
Okay, immediately stop all wheat, sugar, and potatoes. And that's staples of most Westerners' diet.
Yeah, well, it's not in my diet.
Okay, so all right. Well, here's a question that I have: Is it the wheat because of the starch? Is it the wheat because of the GMO? Are all wheats the same? For example, Italian pasta does not have GMO as we know of it yet. Is that different?
I don't know about Roundup in Italian spaghetti. I would have to check it out, but my understanding is Roundup is used all over the world, and the product in which it's used most is wheat.
Mm-hmm. Now, is that the problem with wheat? Is it the Roundup?
It's the Roundup plus the starch or the carbohydrate.
Okay. So, potatoes, French fries, potatoes au gratin, baked potatoes, doesn't matter. Potatoes?
I don't eat them.
Okay. Sugar. That would now, obviously that's in candy and that's in high fructose corn syrup, pancake syrup, and pretty much every snack food made. What about honey?
A little bit of honey is okay. Now, again, a little bit of honey is a teaspoon or two a max a day.
Okay. And so is honey considered sugar?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Because what I do, if I get a tickle in my throat, I will take some warm water. I will add, I'll heat up that water, put it in a cup, let's say a third of a cup or quarter of a cup. I'll heat up that water. Then I'll add probably a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, and then I'll add 1 teaspoon of honey, and I'll sip it, and it knocks out the sore throat or the itchy throat.
Oh, I think that's fine.
Okay. And all wheat. So that means whole wheat bread. That means pumpernickel. That means sourdough, right? It means all of that. It means pancakes. It means pasta.
Yes.
It means the hamburger buns that you might have a hamburger with, or a hot dog roll if you want to have a tube steak, a mystery meat, lips and rear ends in those hot dogs. Boy. Okay, so that leaves lots of vegetables and meats and fish.
You've got it. Mm-hmm. And I want to remind people that the best protein for the brain is fish. I'm not opposed to other flesh protein, but there's no question that fish protein is superb.
Okay, so in our ponds we have some catfish. We planted them, and they've been doing well over the years, and they're like a couple feet long now. I mean, they're pretty big. Would you be opposed to eating farm-raised catfish? Now, I'm not talking about in a fish tank at a factory farm. I'm talking about catfish who live out in a pond that is on a farm that has where insecticides are not used, chemicals are not used. You know, the only thing that lands in this pond is what the government sprays.
If it's your own pond, as you know about, it's fine. But if it's a commercial pond, it's probably contaminated.
Okay. There you go. All right. Let's see. We're going to the top of the hour break, and Sharon, with an S, is calling in from Montana. She wants to talk about vitamins. I can see that on the call screen. Sharon, we'll be with you right after the top of the hour news and commercials. And I had a whole bunch of questions for Dr. Shealy regarding how can you tell if someone is diabetic just from looking at them? That's one of the questions. And apple cider vinegar versus other vinegars, and working around mold. What do you need to know, and what do you need to do to prevent getting sick? Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? Blissed? Hour number 2 of USA Prepares. Sharon with an S in Montana. Welcome.
Good morning. I have a question for Dr. Shealy about B vitamins. It's rather confusing to me. You hear people take a B complex or B12 or B6. So what is the difference, and will B complex do the whole job?
Well, at the top of the list is your brain. Your cognition and memory depend upon B1, B2, B3, B6, etc. But all of the Bs are necessary. B12, of course, is primarily for your blood count, hemoglobin, that kind of thing. But they're all important. And you need today probably 10 times what you needed when they set up the minimum daily requirement because of pollution. So instead of 2.5 milligrams, let's say, or something like that, you need 25 milligrams minimum of all of them.
Okay. So if you are purchasing one of those B complex, would that cover, or do you have to read it and see?
You got to read it to be sure how many milligrams. That's why I created my own brand, Dr. Shealy's Essentials.
Uh-huh. But if I couldn't order that, what would be one I could buy, like in a health food store? Do the Now brand, do they make a
Look at the label, just say B complex, and look at the Bs, and they should say 25 milligrams on each of the major Bs.
Okay, so you're probably best off just doing that than trying to figure out what B vitamins to buy.
Right, you just need to know the milligrams.
Okay. And my second question, you talked about putting magnesium oil on your skin. So I bought some stuff that's in spray. It just says it's magnesium, basically. But it makes my skin itch like you wouldn't believe. Is that going to get better or what? I have fairly sensitive skin.
Now, where have you been putting it?
I just stuck it on my legs because my legs are cramping.
Okay, yeah. Occasionally people do have that. Try it on your feet.
My feet? Okay.
Sometimes it's better on the feet. It's less likely to cause itching on the feet than it is on the legs, I think.
Okay, because it was making me itch like an hour later. I'm still itching. You know, I mean, you could live with 5 or 10 minutes, but that was kind of
I don't like that it does happen occasionally, but I would try it on the feet first before I gave it up.
Okay, well, I need to do something because all of a sudden my legs start cramping. I've always taken just a pill, like a capsule, and that seemed to keep everything at bay for you.
We did a study.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, through the skin, it raises your DHEA, the anti-stress hormone. Through the mouth, it does not do that. And you're lucky to have it. I mean, I see people with all kinds of magnesium deficiency problems that won't get well by mouth.
Okay. Well, I just took it kind of to offset any, problems. This is supposed to be good, and I've been doing that for quite a few years, but now all of a sudden my legs are starting to cramp up like crazy, and it's not very fun. And so I thought, you've always said magnesium oil, so I thought, okay, I'll buy some. And then, like I said, it just makes my skin itch horribly.
Okay, if you've got to go to an oral, get magnesium taurate, Taurate. It is far better tolerated than any other form.
Okay, well, I'll try the oil on my feet, though. That might be fine. I don't mind. I don't mind a little bit, but like I said, I have pretty sensitive skin, so it's like an hour later, it's still itching like crazy. I'm going, this isn't too fun. But I'll try it on my feet because that might work. It probably worked better like if I did it maybe in the morning too, so that I would be distracted maybe.
Right.
Sharon,
okay.
I have a question for Dr. Shealy that relates to what you're asking. Dr. Shealy, there's a whole bunch of different magnesium compounds and chemicals. Yours, I believe, is magnesium chloride. Is that correct?
Oh, yes.
And, all right, are there magnesium chemicals that others could use in their formulae that would be not beneficial or possibly dangerous, and still call it magnesium lotion or magnesium?
Well, it could be magnesium sulfate, which is Epsom salt, but it's not nearly as well absorbed as the chloride.
Okay.
Sharon,
does that help you?
Mine, I think mine said chloride on it. It's just magnesium, and it's just in a spray bottle, which seems simpler to me. And I looked at some of the others because I was going in, and they were supposed to have a sale on just the oil, and they were out, but I was looking at other brands, and it looked like that was basically what they normally had. But I was just wondering if he had a trick of the trade to make it better, so I'll try my feet. That's definitely worth giving a try.
Now, when you say the feet, Dr. Shealy, are you talking about the tops of the feet, the bottoms of the feet?
Oh, I just put it on the whole feet.
Okay.
So, top, bottom.
Sharon, I'll tell you what I do. I use the spray. That's my preference. Other family members prefer the magnesium lotion, Dr. Shealy's magnesium lotion. And you can get it at the website, class, normshealy.com, normshealy.com. And I spray it on my chest, Dr. Shealy. I spray it on my heart, and I spray it on the back. When I get out of the shower, I dry off, and then I spray it on my legs. I spray it on my chest, and on my calves. And I found that if I don't spray it on my legs, I may get cramps that I don't get if I spray it on me. Meaning there's a direct relationship between the magnesium spray and cramping. So if I forget a day or two, I may get cramps. So I remember to do it. Is that something that you've heard before?
Yes. Some people like spray. I like just the lotion, but they both work the same.
Yeah. And Dr. Shealy, do you want to share where you put it? Sharon may want to try that, where you put yours.
I just put it on my buttocks. 1 teaspoon on each buttocks twice a day is the way I do it.
And because you'd mentioned to us on the air one day, Dr. Shealy, spraying it right on your chest by your heart, that seems to work really well. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. And the one other thing I'd like to ask while Sharon's still with us, before she finishes up her questions. So, Dr. Shealy, some of us take a shower multiple times a day. For me, if I get out and, if I get filthy on the farm, I get all dusty, I'm going to want to take a shower and get that off. Now, should I respray and, when I take my second shower of the day? Should I respray with magnesium?
Twice a day, it doesn't matter how many times you do it.
Okay.
Whether it's morning and night or 2 other times, doesn't matter. I wouldn't do it 4 times a day.
So is the minimum 1 and the maximum 2?
Well, I think 2 teaspoons twice a day is the average. Now, we don't really know unequivocally being 140 pounds and 200 pounds how much difference you should make.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Sharon, back to you.
Oh, that's actually just what I wanted to know. I was trying to figure out how I could do this because I've never really had much trouble with leg cramps except a couple times when I was pregnant, which, kind of goes with the thing. But they've just been acting up, and I've got some really doozies, and I'm thinking, boy, this is not fun. So I was just trying what he had recommended on the phone, and I thought, like I said, I don't have to be redundant. He answered my questions. I do appreciate it. And thanks for answering. And you guys have a great day, okay?
Thanks for calling.
Thank you, Sharon.
Right.
There goes Sharon.
I don't know how I got it.
Jolene in North Carolina, welcome. You're on with Dr. Norm Shealy.
Yes, hello, thank you. I just got home from the hospital with a case of transverse myelitis. And no, I was not part of any COVID vaccination trial. They have no idea how I caught it, but I was in the hospital for 10 days. And now I'm on very high doses of steroids, which are causing all kinds of problems for me, of course. And I'm trying to figure out how to mitigate the meds that I'm on and the Devic's disease, the condition that I have, what I can do, nutritionally and with supplements to try and mitigate the harmful effects from the steroids and from this Devic's disease.
Wow, that is a big one. I can't give you an absolute answer for all of that. But the one thing that I would unequivocally do is fire, earth, and crystal bliss. They're very simple things. It would take you, once you learn how to do it, take you about 1.5 minutes a day to do it. But using fire, earth, and crystal bliss, these oils that you put on specific acupuncture points, will reduce your free radicals and help raise your DHEA. And DHEA is the most important antidote to steroids.
Okay, wonderful. That sounds really easy. And as far as taking something systemically, of course, I have insomnia is one of the bad things that I have from taking these steroids. And so I'm trying to figure out how to battle that too.
I would get timed release of melatonin.
Okay.
And I would start with 5 milligrams, but you could go up to 30.
Okay, very good. Now, so I was curious about the clinic that you have going on over there, knowing that you have your neurological background. I have 3 neurologists that are working on this situation right now. It's very rare. They don't know how it happened, what we're going to do about the prognosis for the future. So I was kind of curious if you had ever dealt with anything like that at your clinic.
Oh, yes. I deal with all the things that don't respond well to conventional medicine.
Okay, because I am very interested in it and want to pursue that further. So I guess to do that, I would call your phone number for your clinic then.
Right.
Let me give you that.
We could do a Skype consultation or a Zoom consultation or a phone, anyone.
Let me give you that number, Jolene. To reach Dr. Shealy's clinic in Springfield, Missouri, we're in the Central Time Zone here, 417-351-5221, 417-351-5221.
Okay, good. Got it. All right.
And the website is normshealy.com, NORMSHEALY.com.
All right, very good. I'm trying to look outside the box here and figure out all my options, get some integrated medicine going on here, because this might be a situation where allopathic medicine might not address the underlying cause of the thing. They're just treating my symptoms. So I want to do everything I can.
That's
Dr.
why
Shealy,
I started holistic medicine back in the 70s.
Dr. Shealy, she mentioned steroids. Is steroid as a therapy just treating the symptoms?
Well, of course, it's treating the symptoms, but it does cut down on inflammation. And the greatest symptom for which it's used is inflammation. And inflammation can be, devastating.
And is that why people who are on steroids feel like supermen and superwomen while they're on them?
Well, usually at the beginning, but after a while it goes the other way.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no. That's something to look forward to.
Jolene, would you like to hold through the break? Do you have more questions? I want to make sure that you have enough time to get all your questions answered.
Sure, I'll hold.
Okay, so figure out what those questions are, and Dr. Shealy will be right back in just a few minutes after some commercial announcements. Dr. Norm Shealy is with us. Jolene is with us in North Carolina. Jolene, you have more questions for Dr. Shealy?
Well, yes, the treatments for this have annihilated my immune system, so I cannot go out in public now. I'm a sitting duck to catch everything that's out there. So I'm trying to boost my immune system back up. At the same time, I'm taking steroids. I don't know how that's going to work, but I'm taking vitamins and quercetin. Do you have any suggestions of what I could do? Am I doing the right thing?
The best 4 things that I know to boost the immune system are a good multivitamin with at least 25 milligrams of all the basic Bs, my youth formula, which is a combination of vitamin C and MSM. They need to go together. Magnesium lotion and the Fire Bliss that I've already mentioned. Those are the 4 ways of raising your DHEA, the antidote to cortisone.
Okay, great. So I'm also, like I'm saying, taking the quercetin too. So I don't know if that's something that you have heard about that was supposed to be helpful for your immune system.
I don't know that one.
Okay. So I want to prevent a reoccurrence of this once it gets resolved. And we don't know what caused it in the first place. There's all kinds of speculation, but we don't know for sure. We've ruled out MS and cancer and everything else. And so I just want to make sure that I do everything I can to prevent a reoccurrence.
Well, I agree. The most important thing is to stay healthy in the beginning as much as you can.
Yeah. Jolene, let me cut to the chase a little bit here. I have the internet, as just about everybody does, and I can buy my products wherever I'd like to buy them. I choose to shop at Dr. Shealy's website and his office, and literally there are two vitamins and mineral supplements that I take every day, and I suggest that you consider it because I've done some experimentation, and based on my experimentation on me, I think that this is the best bang for the buck, the best way to go. And here's what it is. And Dr. Shealy said this. I'm just putting an exclamation point on it and want to make sure that you heard it. His multivitamin is called Dr. Shealy's Essentials. Dr. Shealy's Essentials. It's a capsule. And that's one of the supplements I take. Another one, very high on my list, is Dr. Shealy's Youth Formula, and that's his vitamin C with MSM. So you can get those at his website, and you may want to do that.
I do have both of those.
Great.
Good.
Those are the two that I do buy from Shealy's website. Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that our class heard that, and that's not a commercial class. That's an endorsement. As a matter of fact, I keep them right here in the studio. Okay? Because I want to make sure, no matter what, I don't miss taking them, because of forgetfulness or daily activities getting in the way of me taking them. So they're right here. So I wanted to share that with Jolene. Jolene, do you have any other questions? Because I have one question for you.
Oh, okay. And nope, I think that sums it all up really well. Thank you so much.
All right. So actually, I've got one question for Dr. Shealy for you. Dr. Shealy, since she is on an anti-inflammatory, what about turmeric? You have talked about turmeric. Is that something
Yeah, turmeric or curcumin, an extract of that, is probably the single best natural food anti-inflammatory. Now, interestingly, it works better if you take some black pepper with it or piperine. So I take a rounded teaspoon of turmeric and a level teaspoon of black pepper every day also.
Great. I was wondering about exactly that. So thank you for bringing that up.
Okay. And Dr. Shealy, is that something that she can get at your website, Turmeric Curcumin?
Those are so widely available that we do not carry them on our website. Almost even grocery stores will have the black pepper and the turmeric.
Jolene, if you have a Sam's Club membership, they have it. Okay, I've been looking at what all kinds of things that Sam's Club offers, including oil and motor oil and transmission fluid and things. So I happen to find that. So that's available. My quick question for you is, how did you find us? Do you have a couple minutes to stay through the bottom of the hour break, or do you have to go?
Sure. No, I'll be here.
I'd love to hear how you found out about us. Class, Dr. Shealy is with us, Dr. Norm Shealy, medical doctor. And if you'd like to go to his website, it's normshealy.com, normshealy.com. If you'd like his phone number for his clinic, 417-351-5221. 417-351-5221. Jolene's with us in North Carolina. Jolene, so my question for you is, how did you find us?
Well, my husband and I are team truck drivers. That means that we drive in the same truck. And my husband, Marcus, is actually sitting right here. He would kind of like to explain to you how it all happened.
Sure. That sounds great.
Hi, Vincent. We love your show and get a lot out of you. I'm very much like you. We have a little homestead here in North Carolina, so we do a lot of kind of things that you do. But aside from that, we are both truck drivers, and about 6-7 years ago, we listened to Coast to Coast on GCN radio and stumbled upon you and just have been in love with your show ever since. And so I'll try to catch up. I can't listen. Jolene drives in the morning, then the day shift, and I do the night, so I try to catch up with you other ways. But that's basically how we came upon you and love it and like listening to all the different aspects of your show.
Well, the instructors are what make USA Prepares. It's the instructors, and they are absolutely fabulous. Dr. Shealy is the one who has been with USA Prepares the longest. He was a broadcaster at a radio station in Springfield, Missouri, and that's where I met him. My broadcast followed his, and so we would cross paths for like 1 minute in the studio. He'd be getting out of his studio seat. I'd be climbing in, and we got a chance to know each other fairly quickly, and he's been with us ever since. So the longest running instructor at USA Prepares is the senior instructor, Dr. Norman Shealy. And I want to thank him for that. And your name is Marcus.
Yeah, Marcus. And it's so wonderful that he's able to take the time out of his busy schedule to be on the show. quite often.
Yeah.
And that's just so remarkable to help people out like this. Like, I love my wife very much, and this transverse myelitis kind of gave her paralysis on her right side of her body, which made her unable to drive the truck for right now. And I think due to what she's trying to do with some of the vitamins and things has helped out since she's been home about a day and a half. And also her blood transfusions with the dialysis seems to be helping, and that's what's concerning, is what are the repercussions from that. But
let's ask Dr. Shealy. Let's ask Dr. Shealy. Dr. Shealy, risks, concerns about transfusions.
Well, of course, but there are times when they can save your life. So I can't, tell you when I would consider it necessary, but in general, that acute illness is pretty well managed by conventional medicine. I think when I get involved primarily is when it becomes chronic. Now, to me, chronic is after 6 or 8 weeks, not after 6 months. But in acute situation, I would go 99% of the time with conventional medicine.
Marcus, you have our contact number for Dr. Shealy, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I have everything on the websites and have all that information. We'll be contacting him a little later today and see if Jolene's a candidate to probably go over there to see you guys in Springfield. So we will see how that goes.
I'll tell you I'll tell you something very interesting. I stopped over at Dr. Shealy's office. This was months and months ago, in the good old days, and I happened to be talking to the gal at the reception desk, and you walk in, and she's the first person to greet you. And I was just chatting with her, and when I pulled in the parking lot, there was an RV, a mobile home there. And I thought, wow, that's kind of interesting. I haven't seen one of those before. I was wondering if Dr. Shealy, had a mobile home, or whether one of his patients, moved in. And so I was talking to the gal at the reception desk, and out from one of the rooms there, a man came and kind of was listening into our conversation. And it happened to be the husband of the patient who Dr. Shealy was treating. And that's who the mobile home belonged to. And he recognized my voice. So what happened was, it was fascinating. This couple moved in for about a week, and lived in the parking lot. So, Dr. Shealy, I'm sure you remember that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, what a delightful couple, what a delightful experience. So the reason I mention that is I'm not recommending you all bring your mobile homes or your camper trailers, but I'm just saying that that's one thing that did happen. So, Marcus, a suggestion, something for you to consider. If your time permits, and if you'd like to share with us experiences that you have had and are having as an over-the-road truck driver, a team, we'd love to hear about that. And if you'd like to send me an email, I'll give you a call, instructor@usaprepares.com, and maybe you should become an instructor.
Well, I would love to do that. Both of us are very good at what we do, and like training and helping people out completely. And even when we're at a truck stop or wherever we see younger drivers trying to figure it out, I'll jump out of the truck and help them out. And absolutely, we have a lot of insight to give, a lot to share.
It sounds wonderful. So instructor@usaprepares.com. Marcus, anything else?
I'm good. I'm just very appreciative of both you and Dr. Shealy and your show and the positiveness that you guys give to the country. And I just think that's so wonderful.
Well, we can undo that positiveness in just a couple of minutes. I've got a comment about the news, and I'll probably undo a little bit of it in just a minute. So I just want to say thank you very much to you and Jolene. Thank you again.
Well, thank you again. And you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Well, Dr. Shealy, at the top of the hour news, which was, the bottom of the hour, actually, about 12 minutes ago, we heard that Los Angeles County is offering a $100,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of a suspect who shot 2 officers and at a metro station in the city of Compton. And so the country's outraged, and it should be. But I have 2 questions. not necessarily for Dr. Shealy, but just two questions. Number one, where did the $100,000 come from? That's question number one. And two, is that offer for the information relating to the arrest and conviction of the person who shot these two officers, that $100,000, is that available for every murder suspect, or is it just when police are murdered?
Good questions, of course. Well, of course, if it came from the city, it's going to come out of taxes. But I don't know whether it applies to any other murder.
Well, what I'm trying to do is draw the attention to the fact that I've never heard, back in the days of Jesse James and Billy the Kid, et cetera, there were wanted posters and there were rewards. But, for bankers who have been shot and just the general public. But it seems to me that the police amass in force and numbers when one of their own is harmed, as compared to they're not so interested when it's one of us. That's the point I'm trying to make. Now, maybe I'm confused, but I don't think so. I think it's I think if shots are fired and an officer is shot at, the police respond very quickly. And here is just one example. It's a very public example of a $100,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the person who shot these two officers. So just wanted to draw that distinction, class. I doubt there would be a $100,000 reward if we were the victims. That's just the point. Dr. Shealy, I was getting up this morning and I was thinking about past life regression and past lives, and I was thinking about mortality. And I was wondering if you had some thoughts on, does the past life, is that impacted by the type of death? So, for example, I've been watching a television series, and and it has to do with war. And there are people who are, shot. There are people who put up against, were executed for, the Germans executed people. They hung them, etc. They tried to get information out of them. Awful, awful deaths that did not have to happen at that time. So is there a relationship between the past life and the kind of death, whether it be a natural, passing away in your sleep versus being executed, being tortured, drowning, those kinds of things, war? Is there a relationship?
Having done hundreds of past life therapy sessions, I'm impressed that most of the time when people do one or two past life experiences, they come up with a traumatic death. I think you're much less likely to carry over some problem into, the next or future lives, unless if you just have a natural death. We all die. As far as I can tell, many times. I know almost 30 of our previous lives, and several of them were traumatic. They seem to influence your personality in the future, if you will, more than a natural life, a death.
Okay, because when you did a past life regression with me, my death I did not see my death. I was just to recap very quickly, class, I was just a farmer, and it appeared to be quite some time ago, kind of like in the revolution, the first revolution in the United States. And people were coming to kill us, and I was trying to organize the village, our village, to protect our village, us to protect us. And I couldn't get anybody to pay attention. And it was really frustrating for me. People, kind of walked out, and they, wouldn't listen to me. And what I saw later was me in a field, kind of hunched over, worn out, lots more miles put on me than the years that I, should have had those miles on. So what I'm saying is that those 4 or 5 years of the conflict, of the guerrilla fighting, the protecting, my family, and doing my best to protect the village, really took a heavy toll on me. And I saw myself in a field just, looking down on me, just kind of worn out, alive. I mean, I'm not talking about failing at the moment, but, operating at a much, much slower potential than I had before that whole mess started. And that's what I saw. So I did not see, an execution of me or hanging of me or torturing of me. I was just wondering. So.
Well, I can tell you, having had one past life where I was hanged, that does stand out in my memory.
Mm-hmm. And do you think it carried forward?
Oh yeah, it's something you have to deal with so that you don't rebuild the same situation again.
Okay. All right, Dr. Norm Shealy's with us, medical doctor, and we'll be right back. I've got some more questions about mold and working around mold and body sizes, small, medium, large, extra large, and health. Dr. Shealy, we sent you an email about Bob Woodward. He's the guy that was involved in discovering what happened at Watergate and the ultimate resignation of President Richard Nixon. And he was involved in recording interviews and telephone conversations. The president knew absolutely that he was being recorded. And it made 60 Minutes. They did an interview with Bob Woodward, the investigative reporter. And it seems that the president knew that the coronavirus was real, that it was deadly, that it was airborne, and then decided that he was going to downplay it. Did you hear that, Dr. Shealy, that link on 60?
I do not watch any news whatsoever, ever again in my life on television.
Okay.
I
was just wondering what your thoughts were about that, because the president did literally say, I'm paraphrasing now, that this is pretty serious because it travels through the air, not by the touch. Now, even though the president supposedly has a degree from Wharton, a very prestigious business school, he doesn't have the vocabulary that's commensurate with that, at least in my opinion. He doesn't have the vocabulary of Dr. Norman Shealy, that's for sure. Well, he mentioned that, this is airborne. The virus travels through the air, and it's very concerning because compared to one that travels by touch only, this is more serious. At least that's what the president was alluding to. And yet, he did not convey the seriousness of the transferability to the people.
Ben, in case you ever seen it, the CDC about a week ago admitted that the actual death rate is less than 10% what they've been publishing.
Yes.
They've been publishing everybody who dies essentially is dying of the virus.
Yes.
Now, if the true death rate is less than 10% of what they've published, who trusts anybody?
Yeah, and at the same time, there's other information saying that they were concealing the deaths. So what you have been saying, Dr. Shealy, is absolutely correct pretty much from day one, that you can go to the same news source and find pro and con, plus and minus, yes and no. Literally, it's unbelievable. At the same time, there are
fraud, fake epidemic.
And I don't think we have ever seen in our lives, yours and mine, the amount of disinformation that we are now seeing. I mean, we've seen it. The international bankers have created run-ups and crashes, and they've profited on both sides of the equation. They've done it intentionally. We've seen that, but that was nowhere near the amount of fraud, deception, misrepresentation, obfuscation, and confusion that's going on right now. It's record breaking. Okay.
Exactly.
All right. So, here's a question. Dr. Shealy, how does one select a doctor? So, for example, you went to Duke. You did your internship at Harvard's Massachusetts General Hospital. I mean, those are credentials that are just right up at the very, very top. How does one select a doctor? Can you do it by credentials? What do you do it by?
You do it by personality, in my opinion. you need to like the person and feel that they're compatible and interested in you, and that you're not just part of an assembly line. To me, that's clear.
It's very interesting that you say that, because when Mrs. Finelli picked doctors in the past for her, and she would do the research, and she'd look at she'd go to the internet, she'd look up their qualifications, credentials, practice, etc. And she would look at their pictures, and she said, "Look at this one. This one seems like a nice guy." And then she would want to talk to the office and find out, was she right? It's kind of like an interview for a job, and she was doing the interviewing, and she would verify that they are is that smile real in the picture? Does the person look trustworthy? Seriously, that's what she did. Would you have a reaction to that? Do you think that's bona fide, or is that nonsense? Oh, that's what she does. Okay. Next question, vinegars. Apple cider versus wine, versus distilled vinegar. Are they the same? Do they do the same thing? Or is there a reason why apple
cider is better?
Okay. For most purposes?
Yes. Well, Of course, if you're just using it to wash things, only I think apple cider vinegar is better if you're taking it orally. As far as washing dishes with it, cleaning things with it, etc., I don't think the distilled is fine.
Okay. What about apple cider vinegar with mother? That would be that sediment, that yeast-type sediment.
They say it's better. I don't know.
Does that mean shake it up and, make it uniform? And is that yes?
Yes.
Okay. So if I'm making a salad with apple cider vinegar with mother, shake it up and then make sure that mother is spread throughout the entire bottle, and I get my fair share each time I use it. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Okay. One last thing, working around mold. If I work around mold, should I take a shower immediately after working around mold and use a nasal spray like saline?
Yes.
Okay. That was what I had on my list. By the way, Dr. Shealy, anything you want to talk about? We've got 4 seconds.
I'm doing great, and as always, great fun to talk with you.
Dr. Shealy, you sound fabulous. Absolutely fabulous.